Welcome, everybody. This is the Peak Performance Summit, creating harmony between mind, body, and nutrition. I am here with social psychologist, hypnotist, and speaker, Jennifer Fidder. How are you doing? Would you like to introduce yourself and give a little bit more of a background to who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jennifer Fidder. Like you said, I'm a social psychologist, hypnotist, and speaker. But my background is basically in the fitness industry. I was a personal fitness and trainer for 15 years. And then I got to the point, and you might know that when you give some people an amazing nutrition guideline and amazing workouts, and they're just crushing it. And for other people, you do the same and they keep falling back into old habits. And then you're like, why? What can I do? And that's how I first got into NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So I got certified in that. And then I became a certified hypnotist, basically to help my fitness people better.
Mhm.
And then I realized, okay, there's so much more that you can do with hypnosis. And I ventured out a little bit and found different areas and different avenues. And now I work mostly with female entrepreneurs and business owners when it comes to any kind of fear. But I still have a close connection to the fitness field because that's just where I came from. So I still work a lot in that field as well.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. So with that, what's your main focus with your clients currently, like in your business model now?
In my current business model, it's like I said, mostly female entrepreneurs and business owners that are facing any kind of fears. We're talking fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of imposter syndrome, procrastination, all the good stuff. I do give a lot of workshops and seminars, sometimes still in the fitness field when it comes to binge eating or like how does our mind work and why does it keep going into those old patterns and habits? Because I truly believe once you really understand better what's going on between those 2 ears, then you can already change a lot of the things that you got stuck on.
Okay, yeah. And so you take basically what you do is like you go in with someone and like you'll identify what's stopping them and their blocks. So in your expertise,
Mhm.
what do you feel is the most common thing that people stop themselves with? Is it fear of rejection? Is it self-doubt? Like what is there something that you see that's more common than others?
So there is definitely recurring patterns, sometimes specific to the area that you're working in. If you're working in the business field, if you're working in the fitness field, if you're working with relationships, but like an overall theme almost is like the self-doubt and self-worth. We're all kind of always questioning, can I really do this? Am I good enough? All those kind of things. So that's basically what you find in all different areas, no matter what you're working with.
Okay. And so with with self-doubt, what's a trick or something small that you say to your clients or something when it comes to self-doubt?
I think the first thing we have to realize, some clients are very self-aware and they're already coming to you and they're like, you know what, I just never believe in myself. And that's amazing because then you already have something to hold on to. But a lot of clients that come to us, and you might notice that too, is that they think it's a strategy problem. Like when we're
Mm,
talking about the fitness field, oh, I don't know enough about macros, or I don't know how to put a workout together, or I
yeah.
don't know how to do this. Not realizing that that's basically just an excuse, if you will, of the
Mhm.
subconscious mind. And what's underlying is the self doubt. So the first part is always really uncovering that and realizing, okay, this is actually the problem,
Yeah.
because everything else is just a symptom of the problem. And then when you realize that, then you really have something to hold on to and that you can then work with. And unfortunately, with self-doubt specifically, at least that's my experience, there's no simple trick. It's just a lot of work that has to go into it and a lot of realization and just learning how to love yourself, how to be okay with yourself, that it's not about perfection, that it's about progress and it's not about what other people think, but what actually my plan is and what I want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something you said is like it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And
Mhm.
like that's I take that same concept when I'm working with clients and things like that. So with your self-doubt, is it like because I think self-doubt is huge. I hear a lot of people talk about it. Um, do you feel that it's more of a childhood trauma thing, or is it something that you've grown into over the years based off of like failure and things like that?
I truly believe that we were all born confident. When you look at little babies and they're running around naked, they don't care. They don't they
Yeah.
don't think about what other people think of me, right? They're just living their lives. And I think we're just through social conditioning are learning that we are not okay the way we are. And that often happens through our parents, totally unintentional. Most of our parents always wanted the best for us, but simply because of their belief systems or because of the way they treated us as a child or the way they parent, they kind of ingrain this self-doubt in us. Oftentimes it looks like pushing the child and telling them, hey, you can do better than that. And then the
Hmm.
child interprets it as, oh, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
Parents' intention is like, "No, you're so amazing, you can definitely do better. I want you to use your full potential." But the way we translate it, it becomes self-doubt because we think they are telling us we're not good enough. So that's usually always where it comes from our child. I don't like to call it trauma, but it's definitely from childhood experiences in most cases, yes.
Okay. Okay. And so you're the creator of the interchange method, and
Yes,
that
sir.
is a hypnosis based system,
Mhm.
that you use. How did you create that? What made you be like, this is what I need this, and I need this, and
Right.
this is how I'm gonna shift you?
So that was basically born out of necessity when I had a lot of clients come to me who were business owners and entrepreneurs and said, okay, this is my problem. I need to change that and then I can grow in my business or then I can go to the next step. And we kind of fixed that. I don't like to use the word fix, but we changed that pattern or whatever it was,
Mhm.
right? And then they were still not able to move forward. And I see that a lot with clients who are kind of switching from the corporate or 9 to 5 world into entrepreneurship because it takes a lot more than just overcoming your fear of rejection or of failure or your procrastination because you kind of have to change your personality, your identity. Because the person, I don't know if you ever worked in corporate before, like the person who worked in corporate or in any other field and now becomes an entrepreneur, it requires just so many different skills that we often
Yeah.
don't have and have to learn, and sometimes also a shift in priorities, a shift in values sometimes even. So and that's how I then created that interchange method where I say, okay, I'm going to take you through this 6 month progress or process where we, yes, do the hypnosis work and we work on any kind of blocks you have, but we also make sure you're developing the skills, you're developing all the other priorities. We're shifting everything the way it has to be so that you can become successful.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And so is it there's so many questions I have. First, like I said, I told you earlier, I've never spoken to a hypnotist. So it's like, do you find yourself like hard to remove yourself from that, like being a hypnotist, like coach, trainer, versus like just going through your everyday life?
In what way?
Like, just are you naturally, I guess, are you naturally
Hypnotizing people as I go.
like, is it something that's like when you see something, you're like, oh, this person's dealing with this, like I want to help them like automatically.
I think not so much like just in like everyday life, but when I have deeper conversations with maybe colleagues or just in networking events, then sometimes my mind goes to, oh, this is what you're dealing with. But I try to hold my unsolicited advice
Yeah.
and keep my mouth shut unless asked. But yeah, you automatically it's just like when you are a personal trainer and you hear things and you're like, well, girl, it's your nutrition, but you're
Yeah.
not saying it, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it does come to mind, but I try to control myself.
And so you are a speaker as well.
Yes.
Now your speaking topics are they the same? Do you do in person like big events?
So we just relocated back to Miami. We were traveling for 3 years, so basically everything I've done over the last 3 years was virtual.
Okay.
Now that I'm back in Miami, I'm going more into the in-person stuff again, which is very exciting because I just haven't done it in so long.
Yeah.
And for in-person seminars and workshops and especially speeches, I have different areas as well. I have the retreats where it's sometimes wellness retreats or business retreats for women, where we have more time and we can really sometimes dedicate a full day of, hey, I show you how your mind works, how you can control your mind so that you can make it work for you instead of against you.
Hmm.
And then we have just short speeches, which are like 30 minutes, where we go into the basics of, okay, how does this all work between your 2 ears? And sometimes I work for corporate as well. So when we're talking about confidence training for employees, team building, communication skills, since I'm an NLP practitioner as well. So it's all different areas, which makes it very exciting and very versatile. And yeah, it's just a very nice combination. I enjoy
Yeah.
that.
And so are you still doing any fitness training?
I do have 3 clients left simply because I've been training them for over 10 years.
I love
And
it.
I was like, "I'm not gonna kick you to the curb."
Yeah.
So I'm still training them, but I don't take any new clients on. So whenever I get requests for especially I sometimes get requests for weight loss hypnosis,
Hmm.
and then I tell them, "Happy to do it if you promise me you're working with a coach and you're
Yeah.
working on your nutrition." Because it's not something where I can click my finger and then you're 50 pounds lighter. It takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah. You have to put in the work.
Yes.
And so with so that's where I want to kind of go into the
Mhm,
process of the hypnosis and
mhm,
like so when you're doing that, like what is the like back end side for the client? So like I know when you go to the gym and work out, like we know the back end is nutrition,
mhm,
water, hydration, and stretching, and
mhm.
sleep. So
Yeah.
like those, if you're not doing those things on the back end, whatever you just did in the gym doesn't matter. So is it
Mhm.
is it the same thing when it comes to like the hypnosis of like what you're performing? Obviously they have to be in that growth mindset on the back
Mhm.
end so they're not falling right back into those traps and doing those things.
So it depends a little bit on what you're working on. When, like I said, I do have clients for weight loss things, for example, then the back end is basically the same thing like in the fitness. You have to make sure you do your workouts, you understand your nutrition, you do your stress management, you sleep and everything. And other things are pretty simple. Let's say you come to me and you have a fear of spiders and you don't want to have a fear of spiders. That's an easy fix. And
Yeah.
that doesn't require any work on your part.
Hmm.
But in general, yes, an open mind to it. If I have somebody who comes to me and says, "Oh, I don't believe in hypnosis, it's not gonna work for you," I tell them, "You're right. It's not gonna work for you."
Yeah.
Because what's the point, right? But in general, when you're working on more complex things, personal accountability is always important. Like, you can't keep playing the victim of your circumstances. You have
Mm.
to understand, yes, I can help you overcome whatever is holding you back, but then it's on you to take action towards your goals, you know?
Yeah. And so you help people with tons of things.
Mhm,
I'm looking at some of the stuff here. So like building unshakable confidence, in leadership and business. Can you
mhm.
take us through like some of that?
What exactly do you wanna know about
Like,
that?
what is it, when are you using hypnosis to do that, or is that a different style of coaching that you're going through based off of your, past experience in life?
So a lot of the thing especially when it comes to leadership training, those are usually either speeches or seminars. I
Mhm,
like to incorporate hypnosis-based techniques because it simply makes the whole thing more engaging and I can involve the audience and it just sticks better than when you're just holding a presentation and everybody takes notes,
mhm,
right? but those are usually more seminars and speeches. Confidence, I sometimes work one on one with clients because that always falls in the same thing, like fear of failure, that also has to do with confidence, right? But in general, for one on one hypnosis sessions, the fastest results you will get when you have a very specific issue that you want to work on. Like the example I gave you with the fear of spiders, that is very specific. If you
Yeah.
come to me and you say, I want to be more confident, then we first have to evaluate, okay, what does that actually mean for you? How does that look like? What would you be able to do when you were more confident that you're not able to do right now? So the more specific it is, the better it is worked with one-on-one hypnosis on.
Okay. And so, like I said, we're kind of jumping around because
All
you
over the place.
do a lot of things and a lot of great stuff. So, like,
Thank you.
we're going back to the fitness now. So, like, when
Mhm,
you were starting with the fitness,
mhm.
what made you want to be a coach and trainer?
I never really planned to become a coach. My father was a bodybuilder, so I kind of grew up in that environment. He wasn't a competitive bodybuilder, but he was like his friends were all bodybuilders, and I
Yeah,
basically grew up in the gym. And I got all my certificates back in Germany, where I was born and raised, simply to know more about fitness because it was fun and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to learn more about what I do. And so I probably have like 10 fitness certificates or something
yeah,
ridiculous like that. And then I started studying and realized I need money. And then I was like, oh, I have those fitness certificates. Let me use
yeah,
them. And then when I moved to the US, nobody actually, because I studied back in Germany social psychology and educational science. And when I moved here, nobody cared about my master's degree, but I still had my fitness licenses. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, fine. Then I'm going to build my own business. And that's what I did. And I'm very grateful that I decided to do that because it worked out very well for me.
yeah. And so, okay, and you said something about Germany. So,
Mhm.
what do you feel is the biggest difference from society here with, the fear of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and like all those things that, most Americans deal with
Mhm.
versus like, is it the same exact things over there? Do you feel like it's less and more here because of the way the culture is and everything here?
I think the fears are the same. The way it is dealt with is different. Back when I grew up in Germany, personal development wasn't a thing.
Hmm.
Like, even things like personal fitness training wasn't a thing
Yeah,
because everybody was like, "I can go to the gym myself. Why do I need
yeah,
somebody to tell me what to do?"
yeah,
So, and now it's getting more to the point. Now, when you go to Germany, there's more personal development courses, there's more coaches. So it's coming a little bit more to the forefront. But I think still that the US is a lot more open to the idea of personal development and the importance that it has in different areas. So
yeah.
that's definitely a difference, yes.
And now we're going over to your social psychologist. Um,
Okay.
so I'm in psychology. I'm going to school right now for my degree in psychology as you
Okay.
speak. So like what interested you in that aspect of pursuing that?
So that's actually a little bit of a funny story because the original idea before I started studying was that I wanted to be a psychotherapist for children. And in Germany, they had you do a 3-month practice, like apprenticeship in a
Mhm.
kindergarten before you start studying. And I did that. And after that, I was like, oh, hell no. This is not gonna happen. So I
Yeah,
kind of looked around, okay, what other things are available? What do I have the grades for? And that's how I basically ended up in social psychology with an emphasis on adult education. So that,
so completely
yeah, I was like,
took
nope.
out the
Mhm.
initial.
I was
Um,
like, it's not gonna be therapy and it's not gonna be children.
yeah. Okay. And so, out of all the things that you do,
Thank you.
what's the fi- what do you find the most interesting for you?
For me personally, what is the most exciting maybe is when I see the personal transformation coming from the fitness field, and you know that it always takes a long time until you can really see changes.
Mhm.
Right? It's not like a day and then you're like, "Oh, look, you lost 10 pounds."
Yeah.
And in hypnosis, it's really literally with a click of a finger, you can see a person transform and their whole attitude, their whole demeanor, and that is just something that's very, very exciting, which I enjoy very much. Like
Yeah.
when somebody comes in and they leave a different person, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that instant gratification that you get.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so with that, did you always believe in, like, hypnosis? Is that something that you kind of worked your way into, like, researching and thinking about and then learning, like, "Wait, this is really something great."
I never or for a long time, I never really considered it. I did, like, guided meditations and things like that. I never really considered doing actual hypnosis, and the way I got into it was, like I said, I wanted to help my clients better, but I was introduced to it by, my mentor, Tim Box, who's a hypnotist in the UK, and he does non-trance based hypnosis. So it's a form of hypnosis where you don't put your client to sleep, if you will. So it's not this pendulum situation with
Yeah.
inductions and everything, but the client is fully awake. And that kind of intrigued me because I always had this fear that I know a lot of other people have. Like, I don't know what's happening while I'm under, if you will, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in my mind, and I don't like this. And I'm a control freak, so I don't want to give up control. So, traditional hypnosis with trance doesn't work very well on me. Non-trance based hypnosis does, because I still have the feeling I'm in control, which I am, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question. So,
Mhm,
guided meditation,
mhm,
hypnosis, you have your regular hypnosis where you're, in the trance, and then you have the non-trance based hypnosis.
mhm.
Like, the difference in between all three. So, like, guided meditation, obviously, like, that's like your entry level,
So
like.
what I guess depending on who you ask, you're gonna get different answers to that question. For
Mhm.
me personally, the main difference between meditation and hypnosis is meditation is usually used for relaxation purposes or just like achieving a certain state of mind. And hypnosis is there to solve problems or to transform habits or thought patterns, if you will, right? And then
Mhm.
within hypnosis, there are then different things, like you said, the trance based, the non trance based, clinical hypnosis, where you're talking about therapy and everything, or stage hypnosis. That's the one where they have you on stage, bark like a dog. So that's
Yeah.
one way to do it, right? So within the hypnosis field, there are different areas as well.
Okay, and so is that something when you get into that field, you have to, like, pick a path and narrow down on?
So every hypnotist, as far as I can judge, is usually trained in traditional trance-based hypnosis. So if I wanted to, I could put people into trance. I know how
Mhm.
to do inductions and everything. So I think that's kind of the basis because that teaches you why the things work the way they work and how you can make it work.
Yeah.
And then from there you can decide, oh, am I more of an entertainer? And I wanna go on stage and I just wanna, have fun with people, or
Yeah.
like me, am I more of a coach and I wanna help transform people, or am I a therapist and I wanna use this to do regression therapy and walk people through past trauma and get that out of them. So I think that's when you then decide late, and some people do all of it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Okay, so I have to ask because I know there's more people in the world just like me.
mhm,
The trance-based hypnosis.
yeah.
How do you get into that trance state? Like, what is it? Like, and I don't even know if this is something that, like, you can talk about, but, like, how am I here and you're like, okay, sit down,
Mhm,
close your eyes or whatever, and then you do your thing and then snap, and now I'm like, I have no control. Like,
mhm.
what is that called, and how do you get to that state?
So basically, to put it simple, is brain works on different brain waves depending on the time of day and depending on the state you're in. And
Yeah.
what you're doing with trance-based hypnosis is you're basically just changing the brain wave patterns, if you will, right? So that you're not in that alert state, but for example, when you go to bed, like,
Yes.
get to this kind of drowsy feeling, right? So
Hmm.
that's then the states that you go through, and you just bring people deeper and deeper, usually through simple words and visualizations when I have you walking down a flight of stairs in your mind, and you just
Hmm.
keep going down and down and down and down, and that just helps your brain to relax, and it kind of distracts your conscious mind because your conscious mind is counting the steps and it's busy, so that
Yes.
way you can have then easier access to the subconscious mind. And that's where you want to get as a hypnotist.
Okay, interesting. So learn something new every day. Um, so just a few random questions.
Sure.
Has anyone ever been stuck in a trance?
That's not possible. And that's one of the fears that people have, right? So I'm gonna get stuck in that because you're still in control. I always tell my clients, like when we sometimes in rare occasions I will do trance-based hypnosis just to get them a little bit more relaxed. You
Yeah.
can always come out of it because there's always one part of your mind that kind of stays alert. That's
Hmm.
why I like to explain it. So you are always in control. If you don't want to be in this state anymore, you can just jump out of it. Okay. So that said, we as hypnotists still make sure that we resolve any kind of trance that we created or any kind of patterns like that applies specifically for stage hypnosis,
Hmm.
that when you have them bark like a dog, you want to make sure that you end that before they leave the event, that they not keep
Yeah.
barking out there,
Yep.
right? So yeah, but usually like you can always come out of trance. You're never stuck in there.
Okay. And do you have an experience that you can share that you felt was just life changing for you in any of your fields? Like so it's like social psychologist,
Mhm.
hypnotist, speaking, personal training, to where it's something that was like the shift from when it happened to where you are now, it was like that was it.
You mean like career-wise, like a
Yeah.
jump, or I don't know if it was ever really a jump for me, but it was usually always when I made a decision, like a very firm decision, like this is what's gonna happen.
Hmm.
I had that, for example, before I moved to the US. I was on vacation in Miami and I had this, "Oh, honey, wouldn't it be nice to live here one day?" You know? And then I
Yeah.
came back to Germany and it was cold and rainy and wet, and I was like, "Eh." And then that's when I made the decision, "Okay, I'm gonna move to Miami." And
Hmm.
everybody was laughing. Some people felt sorry for me. And then 5 years later, here I was in my little apartment on the beach. So it's usually always
Yeah.
when I make a decision, and I don't like making decisions, but when I do, that's usually when things change. And that's what I always tell my clients when they're in this state of mm, everything being a little bit fuzzy and I don't know where I want to go, what I should
Yeah.
do. It's like, okay, you have to make a decision. It has to be a very clear, this is what's going to happen. Because otherwise, you're never going to put the effort in, you're never going to have the clarity, and you're never going to see the path. But once you make a decision, that's usually when things shift.
Awesome. And so, okay, that's you went into my next thing. I was going to say, what advice do you have for the listeners and everyone tuning in to, this episode of, um, the summit? What's your advice for people now of something that they can do to shift? I know you said make a decision, that's one, but are there any other easy steps that, you can do without having to find someone in support?
I think the first one is to really be accountable for your own life. Don't start blaming things on other people or continue blaming things on other people. It doesn't matter how you grew up. Oh, am I stuck? Oh,
Nope,
sorry.
you're good.
It doesn't matter how you grew up. It doesn't matter who raised you, what the environment is you're in right now. You are always responsible for your own life and you have to take action. And then the second one is if you really want to change something in your life and you feel you're stuck right now, find the underlying cause. Like I said earlier, most of the things we're struggling with are really just symptoms of something deeper. So if you feel you keep procrastinating, be it in your fitness, in your business, wherever it is, or if you have this perfectionism going on, if I can't do it 100%, then I'm not going to do it at all. Where is that coming from? And simply becoming aware of that will already help you resolve it, at least partially.
Right? And do you have any podcast or book recommendations for anyone that's looking to, get to their next level?
I personally love Atomic Habits. I keep forgetting who wrote it. But yeah, we have it somewhere. Everybody has
I
it somewhere.
I have it. Yeah, I've listened to it, the audiobook 3 times.
There you go. I think that's just an amazing book that helps you no matter what field or what area in life you're struggling with, because it just teaches you basic principles of habit change.
Where is it? Atomic Habits. It is,
James something maybe?
yes. Uh, I have so many books, I can't find it right now. James Clear.
There you go, James Clear.
There you go. And just some random rapid questions. Uh, has nothing to do with anything that we were talking about. Just some random
Great.
questions. Um, I like to ask pancakes or waffles?
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah, I'm
Whoa.
sorry.
All right.
No carb diet here.
What would you replace with that then?
Probably salmon. I like salmon.
Okay. Okay. All right. And then movies or music?
Music.
All right. And then we know you like the warmer weather because you moved from the
Yeah,
colder weather. So,
definitely
uh,
ocean.
ocean. So I was
Yeah.
gonna say like hiking or like
No.
ocean.
Ocean, ocean, always ocean.
All right. And then the last thing is how can people get in contact with you?
The easiest way to reach me is always directly via my website. It's jenniferfidder.com. And from there, you have a contact form. If you just want to schedule a quick call with me, you have the links to my social media, you have some downloads. So that's the easiest way to get in contact.
Awesome. And I'll share that with everyone. We'll send that out in the emails and things like that. And then so do you have any last words for anyone who's listening? Any last, final thoughts or anything like that?
Whatever you do, wherever you're at in your life right now, you have to believe in the fact, and I truly believe it is a fact, that you can achieve your goals. And once you start believing that, things will happen.
Absolutely. You gotta one of the things that someone used to say to me all the time is don't cheat yourself, treat yourself.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that too.
So well, that completes today's interview with the amazing Jennifer Fidder. So thank you for tuning in to the Peak Performance Summit, creating harmony between mind, body, and nutrition. And we're looking forward to hearing all your thoughts and everything on the interviews that we are putting out. So thank you. And thank you again, Jennifer, for jumping on and sharing your amazing expertise in all of the ranges of fields that you are in. Um, you're an amazing person, amazing soul. So thank you for jumping on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate all your words. Thank you.
No problem.